What is shaking, everyone? Welcome to the first ever, the inaugural opinions video, where once a week, maybe twice a week, I find something that's on my mind. Find something newsworthy, Disney related, maybe not, but we're gonna talk about it. That's what the opinions video will be. Like I said, once a week, maybe twice. Today's a doozy, and it's something that a lot of people have talked about. It's been covered by news outlets, been covered by fellow YouTube creators, content creators, Disney content creators. It's been all over social media. And it's something that I can stretch beyond Disney. It's something that I've been thinking about beyond Disney. I'm gonna show you how it all connects. Well, not show you, but yeah, we'll talk about it. I think this video warrants a little sit down, because I think walking and looking at numbers isn't gonna work. So I'm hoping to find a seat here. I don't know what kind of crowds they got in here. I think I've only been in here once in my entire life, and I've lived here literally my entire life. I think this looks like a nice little spot for us to sit down and have a little conversation. So price gouging, that is what we're talking about today. Price gouging. Now, there is a definition for it, but we're gonna go off of my definition for it. It is when a company charges you for every dime that you can, or for every dime that they can. When they know they can charge you $100, but they know you're gonna pay $125. To me, that is price gouging. It is going that above and beyond of what is kind of necessary, or what is of value, where that value lays. So that is price gouging, and that's what we're talking about today. So I went back to 2015, pulled up some numbers, looked at prices, looked at single day with without park hopper, 3-day pass with without park hopper, and back then in 2015, it was the Signature Passport Plus. Today, it's the Inspire Magic Key. We're gonna compare those two. I went 2015, 2020, and now in 2025. I did a lot of numbers. I'm not gonna go through them all, but I'm gonna give you the ones that stood out the most and kind of how they connect to how businesses are operating nowadays. So while I run through some of these numbers, instead of staring at my face, I'll let you stare at this little buddies. So in 2015, single day park hopper, $139. In 2020, they started the tier system, the tier 1 through tier 5, and it would be $159, tier 0 or tier 1. Back then it was tier 1, now it would be tier 0. Tier 1, $159 single day park hopper. Now, tier 5, $209 with the park hopper inclusion. Like I said, I'm adding the park hopper because some of those numbers have fluctuated over the years. So that's in 2020. Now fast forward to 2025 with the most recent price updates or price increases, $174 with the park hopper, $174 with the park hopper, single day. That's tier 1, that's tier 0 now. Now going to the tier 6, they've added a 6th tier. They've added a 0 all the way up to 6 now. This is where the whole price gouging conversation comes in, because a single day tier 6, $314 with the park hopper. $314. We need to put that in perspective a little bit. First off, that is a 126% increase over the 2015 single day park hopper option. 126%, more than double the price in 10 years. Put that into perspective. A 3-day park hopper, back in 2015 was $275. You got 3 days of park hopping in 2015 for less than a tier 6 day at Disneyland today for $314. Let that sink in a little bit. You got more in 2015, a whole lot more in 2015 for a big chunk of change less. So we are going to move on to, sorry, Lucian he's having a ball. We're gonna move on to the 3-day park hopper. I just mentioned it, $275 in 2015 for a 3-day park hopper. I skipped 2020 and moved straight to 2025. $535. $535 for a park hopper in 2025. Now that increase, you ready for this one? 95%. 95%. So we just talked about the single day difference from 2015 to 2020, or to 2025. That was 126%. 3-day pass has now gone up 95% in 10 years. And if you go to annual passes, That's a whole nother thing too. First, I want to start by saying the annual pass is a little bit different than the single day because the value has kind of almost always been there. Yes, it's not as much nowadays, but back in the day, it was definitely of great value if you intended to go many times throughout the year. Back in 2015, it was called, the annual pass was called the Signature Plus Passport. This is the pass that Ashley and I had purchased. And when we were going to the parks like once a month or once every couple months. But that was the pass. It was $1,049. Now, I'm gonna again fast forward straight to 2025. I probably will have included some numbers on the screen here of showing the prices in 2020. But today, it's the Inspire key. That's the biggest one. And with the latest price update, it's up to $1,899. $1,900. Whew. Percentage wise it might not be quite as bad as the single day, the 3-day tickets over the same period, but it's still an 81% increase over 10 years ago. So in 10 years, you have 126% increase, 95% increase for the 3-day ticket, and 81% increase for the top tier annual pass at Disneyland. Now, back then, that top annual pass, for example, you got everything. You didn't have any blackouts. You can go on Christmas, you could go Thanksgiving, 4th of July, it didn't matter. But now Inspire, the top tier, which you're paying 81% more, you can't go on holidays. You can't go the 2 weeks of Christmas. There are now blackout dates. Everything else, for the most part, is still the same. I don't think they include parking. I don't think they do, which that was included in your old annual pass. So the value, what they're offering, has gone down, but yet they're charging, again, 81% more. And you could look at the 3-day ticket, which to me is still probably the best value out of the bunch. I mean, the more days you go, the more value you're going to get. But again, the product has gone down. And that's a whole topic for a whole another conversation of what you get inside of the parks. But is all of this necessary? Is trying to price out everybody kind of necessary? And that's where the heart of this conversation lies. So the question becomes, Disney is charging an arm and a leg. And every year they're going to increase prices. And every year now, it used to just be a couple percent. You know, $5, $10, maybe 20 at the most. You're now looking at like 13% increases, 20% increases. And here's the problem. We're going to pay it. And that's why Disney does it. Why? Because we're going to pay it. It's as simple as that. They can keep marking it up and the parks are still going to be full. That's where the whole price gouging idea comes into play. Because if they charge $5 for milk, guess what, people? Whew. If they charge $5 for milk, $5 a gallon, you're going to pay it. So guess what? They're going to raise it more. Disney wants to charge you $300 for a ticket. Okay. Guess what? You're going to pay it. If Disney wants to charge you $18 for a hamburger and $16 for a salad, guess what? We're still going to pay it. Now that's the problem. That's to me, the epitome, the definition of price gouging, is companies knowing you are going to pay it. So they keep doing it. Because no one's going to take a price cut or a pay cut just because. Like, if my service is being offered and I can get the most amount of money for it, who's going to say no to that? And you could say, well, I would do that, and well, look at this, and I've done that, and this I could. Let's be real. That's not going to happen. Now, I can connect this to another big-time company. I'm a big wrestling fan. You know, WWE. Okay, maybe just WWE. But they've also been taken over by a massive corporation, and they're guilty of the same thing, the same price gouging model, where it becomes, we're going to shrink the assets, we're going to shrink down the supply, and we're going to jack up the price because we know the demand will be higher. That's, you know, what Disney's doing. we're going to kind of shrink down the capacity, shrink down the annual passes. We're going to jack up the price because we know people are going to show up. Well, the difference is with WWE and TKO is the company that came in and took them over. Again, a whole nother thing. But long story short, they're starting to struggle. They're starting to struggle to fill arenas because people are turning against them. People are starting to realize, hey, a couple of years ago we paid $50 for seats. Now I'm paying $150 for seats, and that's not worth it. That's how you get things to change. But with something like Disney, a big, huge corporation, an entity at this point, it's there's people that worship Disney like God. But will guests start to treat Disneyland like wrestling fans are starting to treat the WWE? Will they start to kind of turn and, I guess I don't want to say turn on them because you're still like supporting them, but you're starting to realize like, hey, I can't afford this anymore. Hey, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep supporting someone that is trying to milk every ounce of change that I got, every dollar that I can spend. It's the same thing now. This applies to chain restaurants, round table pizzas. As long as people are buying pizza, guess what? They're gonna jack up the price. Like, that's how it works. As long as people are filling out Disneyland, they're gonna keep raising the prices. And I hear people say, "Oh, I'm getting done with Disneyland. Oh, I'm done with Disneyland." Yeah, they still go. I've said it before. Hey, we need to limit our trips. We've still gone. Like, once a day. Oh, whew. Okay, don't try to film and lift a stroller over the curb. It's a bad idea. We've all said it. Oh, I'm sick of Disney. Oh, I'm sick of their prices. Well, when your kid goes, "Daddy, I want to go," or your wife says, "I want to go," you go, and you're going to pay the prices. Yes, things have changed. When me and Ashley had our annual pass, we did whatever the heck we wanted because you had more money to spend. You weren't paying $535 for a 3-day park hopper. I was paying $60 a month, or whatever it came out to be. So Disney's not going to stop. Disney's going to keep raising their prices, like I said, because we're paying them. WWE is going to keep raising their prices. We'll see how that one turns out. I might have to give an update if things kind of turn sideways for them. But like I said, keep an eye out at your grocery stores, how prices will go up, or at restaurants. More importantly, like restaurants, retail, things like that, where people are going to keep buying them. People are going to keep purchasing your product, no matter how much you raise it. And Disney knows that. These major companies, they understand that. You're gonna keep going. If you want it to stop going. I'm not telling you to stop going to Disney because I'm not going to stop. Yes, trips might get a little bit more spread out, but I'm not gonna stop. I understand I'm part of the problem. Fresh Baked, who we love, is part of the problem. Any Disney park fan is part of the problem. You go to the parks, you're part of the problem. You just need to understand prices are gonna go up. It's inevitable. Like death and taxes. So that is where I'm going to leave it today. It's not just Disney. It's all over the place. Price gouging is a real thing. And like I said, if you want it to stop going. So please leave your comments down below. I want to hear your opinions, not only on the Disney price increases, but is the value there? Is the value there to justify these insanely high prices? If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and make sure to turn that notification bell on, because until I get a schedule, that bell will help keep you in the loop for when videos like these and many others will be uploaded. All right, this video has been way too long. So again, drop your comment about price gouging, and I will see you all a little later.